you don't have to work at it. You don't have to tell them why should you come visit us in Louisiana. They want to come. They know every name of every musician. They know people I've never heard of. But in our case, as far as Enoch's goes, all I got to do is mention a few names of people that have played here for us over the years, and they're like, we're coming. My name's Enoch Doyle Jeter, and I'm the former owner of Enoch's Irish Pub and Cafe in Monroe, Louisiana. It's funny how everything combines. In my younger days, I was born in Louisiana, but a year old, my mom's from New York City. A year old, we moved back to the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I remember as a young child seeing Gene Krupa playing drums, great jazz musician, on Times Square in front of Jack Dempsey's. And my mom and dad said, oh, we need to stay here and watch this. I remember that vividly. And then we moved to Philadelphia, and like between the ages of 12 and 16 or so, my uncle Jose Ignacio and my uncle Enrique, they were artists or involved in poetry and art. My uncle Henry was a great painter. They would take me to Greenwich Village, where the scene was for all the above, the music scene, the art scene, poetry. I remember the first show I ever went to in the village, my uncle drugged me to, went to see the Fugs, and who were an incredible band, kind of like the Beat Generation's music guys. And people like Ginsberg and all of them were there for these shows. Opening that show was James Taylor and the Flying Machine. Nobody ever heard of James Taylor. But I was a kid. So the influence of the painting my uncle was doing and the music I was going to, yeah, I mean, huge influence. We had moved down to Louisiana from Pennsylvania in '69, and when I got out of high school, I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I had a few bit of fun in my art classes, and I just said, I'll just go take art classes. I actually graduated from undergraduate school here in Monroe, Louisiana. ULM was NLU then. Barely missed going to Vietnam. They ended the draft as I was supposed to report. I graduated, and a lot of friends of mine who went to school in New Mexico suggested that I go to graduate school at New Mexico Highlands University in Las Vegas, New Mexico, the other Las Vegas. We call it the real Las Vegas. And it was just a huge life-changing experience. New Mexico is very well known as an art-focused area. I was immersed like anybody that goes to grad school in their focus, their program. I majored in printmaking and minored in painting. And I kind of found my calling, if you will, as a printmaker. And that was life-changing. I think this one is from the early 80s, if I remember correctly. And it's a style I kind of worked in all the way from 75 up until the mid-80s. It was kind of a free-flow thought process. I get a lot of imagery from reading. Bread and fish that fell from the sky. It was just, it's the old Christ fed the multitudes with one fish or whatever the story is. I get a lot of ideas from visual ideas from books. A lot of Bob Dylan songs, visions from that. This one's from '75. I think this one and a couple other prints, lithographs I have are in the permanent collections of the Museum of Fine Arts in Santa Fe and Roswell and a few other places. I don't keep up with it like I should. People say, write all this down and put it on your resume. Well, what am I going to do with a resume at this stage, I'm trying to enjoy life more than look for jobs. So out of graduate school, I was high and mighty at that point thinking, maybe I don't want to teach, maybe I just want to be an artist, Right, I'm going to make money off of my art. 1% of artists do that, I think. And I just got it in my head. I was running a forklift at my father's warehouse here. And I'm like, boy, do I want to do this forever? I'm so tired I can't even paint. And then I went, it'd be cool to open like a little cafe, kind of like Greenwich Village. I told my dad, and he said, are you crazy? That's a hard life, but what do you need? I'll help you support. So the idea was to open a little cafe and have art, have music, have poetry readings, and good food. So yeah, all of that came together, and just like a gumbo in Louisiana, you throw everything in there and mix it up right. If you know what you're doing, it comes out pretty good. The minute we opened, really, we became a place for people to congregate. People kid around about. On one chair there would be a wino, literally, and another chair there'd be a doctor, another chair there'd be a university teacher, and on the end there'd be a guy with hammers on his belt, a construction worker. But it was a place that everyone was welcome. This is actually from 2013, which is quite a while ago, but it represents kind of what I'm doing more and more of. This was an illustration from a book that I was asked to illustrate by an author named Jude Sutherland Kessler. And she is literally the foremost authority on John Lennon on the planet. She talks at all the Beatle conventions and everywhere. She's interviewed everybody but the actual Beatles. By design, she's done that. They're fictional books based on historical fact. Being a big Beatles fan since '64 when they came over, Jude, we met through a weird circumstance, and she said, I want you to illustrate my new book. And it's based on 14 songs that were on the original second album the Beatles had. That was their first album in America. There it was called With the Beatles. Here it's called Meet the Beatles. An iconic album. Started 8 million bands in America, that album. So the illustrations were based on the songs on that album. This one illustrates a song called She's Got the Devil in Her Heart. And they gave me enough rope to hang myself with the illustration. They knew my style, they knew what I did, but they really liked the illustrations when I got done with them. Some are simply cartoonish illustrations. This one in particular I feel stands up as an actual piece of artwork. They were all done as stone lithographs, and then they were photographed and reproduced in the book. But yeah, these I was quite happy with. Most musicians that I've been around over the years, and I didn't know him, but John Lennon started out as an artist in art school. A lot of musicians are artists, a lot of artists are musicians, vice versa. I personally don't know of any artists that don't work in a studio while they have music going. It gets to the point in the studio where, yeah, you do want a little bit of silence and quiet at certain points, but I've always got music going, and it could be anything from old Woody Guthrie to Grandmaster Flash, everything in between, Irish music, whatever, the Clash, Bobby Dylan all the time, the Beatles, or Lucinda Williams full blast, The influence or the effect of Louisiana music when we opened Enoch's, I had already been to New Orleans, for example, and I had seen some of the music there, so I knew a little bit of what was going on. I had seen Professor Longhair before we opened the pub. I had never heard really of Cajun music. I think I heard Hank Williams' Jambalaya, thought that was maybe close, my young mind. Came to find out pretty quick that Louisiana, loved New York and Pennsylvania and all, but Louisiana I found out real darn quick. Professor Longhair, was it that said it? Or Ernie K. Doe, maybe, New Orleans musicians. We're not for sure, but we're almost certain that all music started in New Orleans. And you come to find out, Louisiana, it's just about true. Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. You can go to a bar in New York City any day of the week, a lot of them, and they're featuring performers from this part of the world. The music was so varied in Louisiana. Learned more and more. I'm still learning. And Cajun music and Zydeco and country and bluegrass and folk and, my God, Delta blues out of Clarksdale, Cleveland, Mississippi. It doesn't get any better. Music was like a big mixture right away. People always laughed that one night we'd have like the Dead Milkmen out of Philadelphia, one of the great punk bands, play. Next night we'd have Jerry Jeff Walker, Austin, Texas music. Next night we'd have Beausoleil or Filet Cajun band. And then the next night we'd have you know, folk music, poetry readings. So we had a mixture of it all. And people always said, oh, you did that to attract different crowds. No, we did it because we loved it. I opened on St. Pat's Day officially, quite honestly, because I had an Aunt Molly Kelly in New York City, who was full-blooded Irish. I'm half Spanish and a mix of all the above. A bit of Irish thrown in, of course. But, you know, it was fun. St. Patrick's Day was fun. Went to the parade as a kid in New York. Grew up around it. But our St. Patrick's Day celebrations at Enoch's, people started realizing about their background and celebrating the fact that they're, oh, you know, my mom's family, their granddad was from Ireland, this and that, or Scotland. And it kind of became natural and people enjoyed it more. But our St. Patrick's Days from 1980 to 99, I think, or 98, were just a throwdown, you know, Donnybrook hoolie, drinking and singing and bands and all that. And honestly, you know, that's 19 years. I guess we should have learned sooner. But when we opened this location here in 1999 or 2000, I thought, you know, this is crazy. We need to do something good, like it should be on St. Patrick's Day. And I had learned enough to know about all the charity organizations and all the people that raise money on St. Patrick's Day, much like they do in New Orleans, reselling Mardi Gras beads. And, you know, I know St. Pat's Day wasn't our idea, and there were parades here in Monroe, Louisiana. The first parade was like 1850-something, downtown Monroe. There was a group of Irish people that had St. Pat's celebrations. But darned if people forgot all that, much like they forgot the Cajun culture at one point. And certain people, us included, brought back that feeling of being proud of your roots, whether it's Irish, Italian, German, you know, Puerto Rican, anything. I could only bring this as a newer example, and this is already 3 years old, but I'm going in a different direction than black and white lithography. I kind of got burned out illustrating the Beatle book, and I've done a couple of covers for books because of that Beatles project. And I'm going to be illustrating a song in a new book that's coming out next year, I believe. But this is more of a direction I'm heading in, although this is a prototype of some paintings that I'm going to be creating. I'm doing a lot of experimentation with painting, not with the materials so much as large-scale paintings and color approaches. These are very abstracted and more of a minimalistic approach with a lot of abstract expressionism thrown in. A lot of the work that I'm pursuing in the future, the painting and all that I'm doing on a larger scale, it's more about, you know, getting older and becoming a little more aware of your surroundings because you have a little more time. And I've always was very much into the idea of being into your painting or being one with your painting. Much like a musician that gets into a zone while they're playing music and everything else disappears around it. With painting, I like that Zen approach of staying in the painting, becoming part of it, and letting it grow, have its own character. And, that's what I'm doing now and will be in the future. I guess I'll be part of what we've been doing for 41 plus years now. I'll be less of a part of it, but you know, I enjoy it so much. I come up here and I meet people I've known forever. I meet new people every day. Every day somebody walks through our door from somewhere else. We had people visiting from France a week ago. So yeah, I don't want to give that up. And as far as my influence in the future, doing a festival here or doing artwork, I'm inevitably going to be involved in other functions around the state, around the country, probably. And I'll bring all that back here, and as much as my son John, who owns the place, will allow me to continue coming up here and being part of it. And I know, being facetious, I know he will. I'll still book a band now and then with his permission. Is that important? I guess it's important for what we do. I would hope that the people that come here would feel there's an importance to it. I don't think it's any more important than what our customers do, showing up and hearing the music and supporting it. If anything, that may be more important. But yeah, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm sure going to go camping more and go traveling, go to New Mexico and eat more green chilies, go to New York and eat hot dogs and sauerkraut on the street. That's what I'm going to be doing in the future, and creating art, I hope.